We are winding down. We have entered the month of September, and it's time to wrap up the AFC North today with the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers. First, the Browns. It's preview number 27 of 32 here on bet.nola.com, powered by the Dattitude Podcast. I am Jim Derry. I'm sure you know that by now if you've watched any of these past previews. And the Browns, well, it's all about if Deshaun Watson can get things together and use those 6 games he got to play in last year to his advantage and get things rolling. Can he do it? Well, I'll let you know what I think in about 20 seconds. Cleveland Browns time, boys and girls, where you at? It is time to get rolling here. It's hard to believe. We only have 5 more of these things left and we're done. We've got Pittsburgh later today. We've got the NFC South next week, and that's it. Look, when it comes down to the Browns, it's pretty simple. You talk about last year, it was a cluster. You know what? It just didn't happen. 7-10, finished last in the AFC North. They had high hopes. They had really high hopes when they first signed Deshaun Watson to a 4-year, what was it, $200 and something million. I know he was making $46 million a year. So you do the math real quick and figure out how much that is. It's a lot of money plus some incentives. I know it was over $200 million a year. But then he got suspended. Not that they didn't know it was coming or should have known it was coming. Suspended for 11 games after pleading down, basically. I think it was 13 at the beginning. Got cut down to 11. He was able to play in the final 6 games of the year. But really, in essence, it was over by then. They started 2-5, ended up they were 3-7, losing to the likes of the Jets, Falcons, and Patriots. And even a Week 8 Halloween win against their rivals, the Cincinnati Bengals, couldn't rejuvenate this team. And they came back off the Week 9 bye. You thought everything was going to be fine and dandy. Nope, they lost to Miami and Buffalo, and that was pretty much it. They kind of got themselves back in it towards the end. They were mathematically alive, but then lost to the New Orleans Saints 17-10 on a frigid day in the dog pound. They led 10-0. Looked like no one was going to be able to score. Looked like 10-0 might be good enough. Saints found a way to run the ball. Cleveland couldn't stop them. And that was pretty much the end. They fell to 6-9, and that was the end of the season. All she wrote, finished 7-10 after that. So why is it going to be any different this year? Well, look, if you're an optimist and you're a Browns fan, you have to look at it this way. Deshaun Watson is coming in. He's had those 6 games that he got to play with at the end of the last season, and he's got all of the offseason to prepare himself because really this team isn't that far removed from the one that was really good just a few years ago. They were 8-9 2 years ago, and it's a major disappointment. Remember, they were fighting with the Ravens there towards the end. Looked like they were going to be able to get themselves in the playoffs, and just didn't happen with Baker Mayfield. So you think about how much better Deshaun Watson is than Baker Mayfield, and really, this team, I think, has even more weapons than they had before. Nick Chubb is just a dominating running back. He ended up finished 3rd in the NFL in rushing last season with over 1,500 yards. Can he do that again? I'm not sure why not. He's 27, and he's at about that time when running backs are still ascending. He's got about another year or 2 before he gets on the other side of that, so he needs to take advantage of it while he can. But when you talk about things that need to go right, it's about how this team starts. They have got to get confidence early on, and they've got to beat the teams that they're supposed to beat. Run. And so you talk about Nick Chubb, and look, Amari Cooper, he was kind of rejuvenated, leaving Dallas and going to Cleveland and getting Deshaun Watson. Did well with Jacoby Brissett early on as well. He had over 1,000 yards receiving. He had 9 touchdown receptions, and I don't think many people expected that. Also, Donovan Peoples-Jones. He was a key part of what was going on there on the receiving side of the football. Now, look, Jacoby Brissett, we talked about, he wasn't terrible. They just couldn't get anything done. It was a distraction after distraction after distraction, and it kind of set the tone for this team. They drafted wide receiver Cedric Tillman in the 3rd round. That was their first pick. Remember, they traded for Deshaun Watson, so their first pick was the 74th overall pick of the draft. Cedric Tillman from Tennessee going to come in and probably play. He's going to play a role in this, as well as tight end David Njoku, and Njoku has been a big part of the offense as well. So this offense is set up for Kevin Stefanski and company to be successful. And if you look at the numbers on the screen, you wouldn't know that they were 7-10 last year if you just looked at the numbers. 14th on offense, 14th on defense. Where they struggled. They struggled in the passing game. Well, Deshaun Watson should help that. Where did they struggle on defense? They struggled against the run. What did they do? They went out and signed a huge defensive tackle, and Dalvin Tomlinson from Minnesota gave him 4 years, $57 million. And so that ought to help shore up the run. So can they make these numbers better? 14th on offense, 14th on defense. I don't see why not. Let's look at the schedule. They have any advantage there? It starts out tough against Cincinnati, but we say that. And we said it yesterday in the Cincinnati preview. But Cleveland has beaten this team that all of a sudden is one of the best in the AFC the last 2 years. They have beaten Cincinnati 5 straight times at the dog pound. They get them at home to start the season. That is an interesting open. And not only that, you're talking about playing 4 of your first 5 games at home. And you don't even leave your home for the second time until October the 22nd when you go to Indianapolis. So you've got a chance early on to make some noise. Cincinnati, go to Pittsburgh on a Monday night, and then you come home. Tennessee, Baltimore, you get the bye week, you get San Francisco. I'm not sure we know what San Francisco is going to be, but you have an excellent chance. I think this Cleveland team, I think the floor is 4-2. I know some people may say that's crazy, but I think that's the floor, and I think they have a chance to be even better than that. I think this Cleveland team is going to start hot, set themselves up, so even when they go on the road, they go to 2 places where they can win. Indianapolis at Seattle. Both of those are good matchups for them. And then they come home and play Arizona, and we know about that. So you're talking about the midway point. This Cleveland team could be a 2-loss team at the midway point. I mean, I realistically think they could be 6-2 when they make the turn. And then it does get a little bit tougher at Baltimore, playing Pittsburgh, getting Sean Payton's Denver Broncos on the road the Sunday after Thanksgiving before finishing out. And again, we talked about some of these teams they play. At the Rams, Jacksonville, Chicago, at Houston, the Jets on a Thursday night, the last Thursday night game of the year on December 28th. And then January 7th, they finish at Cincinnati. I asked the question yesterday, is that Cleveland at Cincinnati game on January 7th for the AFC North title? I certainly think it could be. Well, I've waited for you. I made you wait to get my predictions for this division, and you're going to get it right now because the drum roll is rolling. I think that Cleveland is one of the bargains in the NFL this season. And look, I got called crazy earlier in the week when I said Detroit wasn't going to be very good, and I said Green Bay was going to win the division. Hell, my son tells me how dumb I am. But look, you got to go away from what everybody's talking about. You can't just if the talking heads were always right, we'd all be rich. I mean, you got to find some values for you. And I think that this is one of the values. I really do. I think this Cleveland Browns team has underachieved for 2 straight years. Last year was just a crap show. That's what it was. It was a mess. This team is much better than that. I think they're going to show it. Myles Garrett is ready to play some defense, and this defensive line is going to be tough to get past. I think one of the bargains of the preseason is plus 330 for this team to win the AFC North, especially because the way the schedule starts and the way that it finishes. Man, if they can navigate their way to 6-2, they could be in great position. I also like their over 9.5. I think they're going to blow past that. And you're getting a value on the over 9.5. People think that's an easy under. I disagree wholeheartedly. I think they're going to win at least 10 games. I think they're going to win 12 games, really. I think 11 or 12 games where they're going to win. Whatever. I got them finishing first in the division. This isn't just a value play, although it's a very good value play. I think this is an actual hit. I think Cleveland wins this division. I really do. So I guess you know where we're going with Pittsburgh. That's coming up later this afternoon. Although I think Pittsburgh's going to be pretty decent. This is going to be, I think, the toughest division in football, or certainly one of the top 2. We'll see you in a little bit.